Hey, welcome back to Emlyn in the Mix, Season 2, Episode 47. I hope you guys are doing amazing out there. We have some very controversial news on the podcast today. What the F to the CEO of Spotify? We'll be talking about that, and we have a brand new soft synth to talk about, which has been getting some rave reviews, and it's from none other than our friends at Cherry Audio, the Quadra. If you want to skip along to the end, you can do that, but don't go anywhere because I have some awesome little pieces of news that we're going to go over. Now that all of the Black Friday, Cyber Season, Cyber Monday deals are essentially over, although there are holiday deals. There are a lot of holiday deals floating around. We're not really going to cover many of the deals. In fact, I don't think we're covering any of the deals today, but they are there. You can still find them, and there's some really cool things. Actually, check out Universal Audio. They have some incredible sales going on. If you like, their plugins are amazing, as we all know, and we've spoken about in the podcast multiple times. Anyway, podcast formalities. What is this podcast about? If this is your first time on the channel, well, we just discuss music news, music technology primarily, audio technology news, that sort of thing. We discuss it here on the channel. My name is Emlyn, hence the name Emlyn in the Mix. Thank you to all of my regular listeners for coming back week to week and supporting me. If you want to support me even further, I've spoken about this a few times now, you can now support the channel by shouting me a coffee. Yes, that's right. Your funds will just go directly to supporting the channel, and maybe I'll get myself a coffee as well. Let me just have a sip. See if this coffee's any good. Yeah, it's good. It's good. And it's thank you to you guys for supporting the channel. Even just listening to this podcast supports me. So thank you so much for coming back week to week. Or again, if it's your first time, I hope you enjoy this podcast. All right, without further ado, all of those formalities out of the way. Oh, one last thing. Leave a review if you enjoyed this podcast at the end. Please leave a review. You can do that in the podcast app. Leave me, whatever stars you felt it was, and a little comment, because I read those and I enjoy reading your feedback. All right, let's get stuck into it. So, first piece of news here comes to us from Nexus. ReFX.com has just updated to Nexus 4. Now, when we have a look at this on the surface level, it looks the same. I mean, to me, there's not really a lot that's changed here. We are essentially just looking at the same GUI or GUI, however you want to call it. Let's have a look, though, features here on what is available with Nexus 4. Now, if you don't know what Nexus 4 is, it's a rompler. It's a sample rompler. And personally, I like it because it has, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it has backwards compatibility, which means if you owned previous versions of Nexus, because around 13, 14 years ago, Nexus was essentially the bee's knees in terms of romplers in the music producer world. Like, pretty much every producer was rolling a Nexus rompler sampler in their DAW of choice and making huge EDM bangers, big house, big room, dance tracks. And not only those huge EDM tracks that became massive around the world, but even hip-hop bangers, you name it. Nexus was one of the go-to romplers back in the day, and that was Nexus 2. So there hasn't been heaps of iterations since, obviously it's only up to Nexus 4, but I think it is backwards compatible. I don't know where I was going with that ramble. Anyway, it is an incredible rompler, and I feel like it's sort of been abandoned in this day and age. It's not spoken about as much in amongst other music producers, and it's not really, I guess there's a lot more choice now, but I wanted to show you guys because I want you to reconsider perhaps looking at Nexus or checking out Nexus, of course, because I've started using it again, and because I was an early adopter Nexus 2, I loved it. It was big. It did get a little bit, that sound that it had did get a little bit everywhere, a little bit of omnipresence, and maybe that's why it got abandoned. But I think with the new features, they have really updated this thing. Anyway, let me read it here off the website. Okay, so This is coming off Nexus, ReFX.com. We've added some really cool features and quality of life improvements to the already amazing librarian in Nexus 4, featuring 3 new columns for easy navigation. Now, I believe that was already in Nexus 3. Anyway, counters for folders, categories, and presets to give you an overview at a glance. Color-coded tags, bookmarks, favorites, and a dedicated location for user presets. History function, easily go back a step or 2 or 3 or more, and forth again if and when needed. Quickly find what you're looking for with instant sound preview search while you type, filter by category and tags, and so much more. So that was present in Nexus 3. What is actually going on here? Is this new? It does. The GUI does look a bit better somehow. I don't know what. Maybe it's bigger or something now. I mean, it is a vector-based GUI. You can make it smaller, make it bigger. I love that. That is essentially what is the future of software synthesis these days. Anyway, it has a new arpeggiator. So Arpeggiator Deluxe, access all 16-layer arpeggiator in addition to the main arpeggiator. Never lose a track of what's happening with the fully interactive zoomed out overview of the top. When zoomed in, the new follow option allows scrolls with the playback, extend the pattern length up to 256 steps, and play the most complex patterns you can come up with. Sequencer mode, create the most complex patterns and multiple notes per step and set the velocity individually. Zoom in on the x-axis or the y-axis to make fine adjustments, or zoom out to have an overview of the full pattern. And editing has never been so comfortable. This is the best arpeggiator you can find on the market. Okay, massive, bold claim there. Just gonna have some more coffee. So they're claiming here the best arpeggiator on the market. Now, it could be true, and I did play with the arpeggiator in Nexus 3, and it was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty good. But anyway, I'm not really seeing the main differences here between Nexus 3 and Nexus 4. But, you know, as we scroll down, we see we got effects, we got a bunch of effects, you got layers here. So clean and comprehensible visualization. Sorry, I'm not going into effects because we all know what effects are. You basically have your 8 engines of effects. Anyway, layers wise, you got clean and comprehensible visualization of the signal flow per layer. Easily pinpoint what affects the sound. Enable or disable entire layers with one click, or play around with individual effects and oscillators. That's pretty cool. So here's some of just quick main features: is vector-based GUI, easy macros, easy modulation, improved cloud sync features. Okay, so here we're looking at Nexus 4, new features. Fast, easy on the resources, that's what we like to hear. Compatible with Nexus 2 and Nexus 3. Yes. Why don't I see these before I read this? Because that is a very important piece of information. Yes, it is backwards compatible. So Nexus 4 is compatible with your existing Nexus 2 and Nexus 3 libraries. Load your old beats into your DAW and load the sound you've had before. This is great because if you go back to a past project, and even for me, I got a bunch of past projects, especially from like the early 2010s, where I was using Nexus 2 heavily, and this is now backwards compatible. That's just massively awesome news from Nexus 4 there. More sound. So Nexus 4 expands factory content by more than 260 new high-quality, handcrafted presets. Online activation, and you got the ReFX Cloud app to get your expansions, because it is a sample rumpler, and this is where, of course, ReFX makes its huge money from. I don't know if it makes huge money, but sorry, I got a bit of a blocked nose this morning. Don't know what's going on there, but could be a bit of hay fever action, which is quite common down here, down under. Nah, just giving you some Australian accent. Bit more than what I usually do. But yeah, if you're looking on here on YouTube, check that out. Look how many expansions there are. This is wow. And this is why Nexus took over, but obviously there's more in this day and age. Let's just have a quick look here. Look at this. Hardcore Italia. So if you want to make something like the bloody Beatrice, can I press on this at press play? All right, I just want to hear it. Let's have a listen quickly. Hardcore Italia. This is one of the expansion packs here. We're totally sidetracking off. I mean, it is part of Nexus. Have a listen to this. Let's have a listen. Oh yeah, bloody Beatrice all the way. Okay, we're probably it is. I like that sound actually. That is absolutely hyperactive, and that is just one of them. We've got an artist series here. Look, Stevie Aoki's on the beat. Let's have a look here. Oh God, I don't know about that picture. All right, here we go. Stevie Aoki. Nexus expansion. There's Nexus 2 if you're watching. That's what it used to look like. I actually prefer that old skin. I actually miss those days. If you're watching here on the video, there's big EDM parties. That's all in the past now, isn't it? It's all about bloody virtual DJing in your bedroom. And that's what's probably going to be the next thing. I don't know what's happening with music at the moment. The pandemic has definitely shifted the way things are going with music. But it was awesome to see Stevie Aoki there. Anyway, you get the idea of just hearing that. That's just a couple of the expansions. They are very high quality if you like that EDM sound. It does not only just EDM, you got dubstep, you got drum bass. I love a bit of drum bass. Let's have a little quick listen. Little quick listen? Is that possible? Can you have a little quick listen? Here we go. Drum and bass. All right, we get the idea. Lovely sounding sound packs indeed. And that's Nexus 4. Check it out. It is released. Enter the fourth dimension. All right, let's move along to the next piece of news here. Comes to us from Traktor. Actually, I've got my email open here as well because the website doesn't really explain what is new here very well. So Traktor's updated to version 3.5, and now you get full access to thousands of tracks you've never played before on Beatport and BeatSource. Yes, that is right. So Beatport and BeatSource's offline locker gives you the power to pick up 1,000 tracks. Yes, that's a lot actually. 1,000 from their catalog and unleash them in the club. No internet connection. Isn't that amazing? So you don't need to go, to the pub manager. Hey, I need the Wi-Fi password because I'm using Traktor and I need to play off Beatport. You don't need to do that. Hey, Johnny boy, what's the Wi-Fi? Yeah, it's Johnny123. Okay. Well, I'm not going to be able to remember that anymore. Nah, I'm just being silly. That is really exciting news. For those of you who don't know what Traktor is, it's Native Instruments' foray into the digital DJ area. Pretty much everything's digital DJing these days. Even if you have those big, Pioneer hardware players, they're all digital. And I love Traktor. I think Traktor's an amazing piece of DJ software. I try and give it shout outs when I can. I love that Native Instruments is continuing to support this piece of software. It is vital. It is probably one of the top three, definitely in my opinion, of DJ software. And it gets better. So let's quickly read some of the features here. Search and select. Search the entire Beatport or BeatSource catalog for your favorite artists or labels. Sort and search results by release date or browse curated playlists by genre. Access personal playlists. You can also upload playlists that you compiled in Traktor back to Beatport or BeatSource to share them to add selected tracks to your cart. Perform safely. Perform and mix tracks streamed from Beatport or BeatSource, same way you would play music from your hard drive. And now with the offline locker feature, you have the power to pick up 1,000 tracks from the massive online catalog, load them into the deck without delay. So this is awesome. This is very, very important. I think I like the idea of being able to curate, I make sure I say that right, curate your playlist, right, with the online, like you can go onto Beatport and you can create your playlist, get it all ready, but being able to download it in an offline locker into your software more or less, and then when you hit the club or the party, you do not want latency, you do not want downloading issues, you do not want to be asking Johnny Boy for his Wi-Fi password just so you have some internet connection. All right, very good indeed. That is the Traktor Pro 3.5 update. Another piece of DJ news here comes to us from Pioneer DJ. And they have a major update to their CDJ 3000. Yes, these last pieces of news, of course, going to my DJ friends, but they are very important. We need to talk to them as well. So major CDJ 3000 firmware update version 2.0 introduces Rekordbox Cloud Direct Play. Can you see a little theme going here, guys? Can you see a little theme with the DJ software that's happening right now? Yes, I think you can. It is all about offline play. It's all about, not having to rely on dodgy internet connection, can you believe, which still exists in 2021. Now, I love saying this next word, and this next word is the Alpha Theta Corporation. What a cool name for a company. I think I've said this before on the podcast. Alpha Theta Corporation, yes, has today released the new firmware version 2.0 for the CDJ 3000 multiplayer from its Pioneer DJ brand. This update introduces a new feature, Rekordbox Cloud Direct Play, which makes it possible to direct play music stored in the cloud using the CDJ 3000. Since its release in September 2020, the next generation CDJ 3000 has become a staple piece of kit for the world's top DJs. Now, I actually cannot believe that the CDJ 3000 has only been with us since September 2020. I actually feel like it came out years ago, and I think that's something to do with this, the lockdowns and the pandemic. It just feels like there's time has evaporated, but it's also feels like it's been a long time, if you know what I mean. So yeah, it's still it's only a year and a couple of months old, this actual multimedia player. And with cloud file storage continually growing in popularity, more and more DJs are looking for ways to manage their music online. And the next natural step is to want to play the music directly from the cloud without needing to download it to a computer and export it to a USB storage device. And so now with Rekordbox Cloud Direct Play, DJs can combine the advanced features of the CDJ 3000 with the convenience of having direct access to the cloud-based music. Okay, it's slightly different to the offline locker thing with Traktor. I didn't quite have that right there, actually. Just reading this back here, essentially what you're able to do is save your songs in the cloud and have your playlist using Rekordbox. If you don't know what Rekordbox is, it's basically a DJ managing piece of software. And then curate your playlists in the cloud, and then access them from this multimedia player, which is the CDJ 3000. This is pretty cool. So more exciting news coming to you for the DJs. Here, it is the future. This podcast, I feel, is the future, because the things we talk about are futuristic. Very futuristic indeed. All right, this next one goes out to my Android users. And Android users, you get the love too. I don't want to just all be about, even though I'm a massive Apple, freaking every Apple product under the sun here, all around me, except for I don't have the Apple Watch, but that's cool. That'll probably happen at some stage. Android users, I don't want you to feel left out on the Emlyn and the Mix podcasts. This is about you as well. This is about you having your Googles and your Androids and all of that stuff that fits the criteria of Android. Although I must admit, I did see it, and we're not speaking about it in the podcast, although I am now. It's my podcast, do what I want. Tesla is releasing a phone. This is really freaking exciting. Now, this is not a tech podcast. This is a music podcast. So I'll have to work out how I can relate Tesla phone into this podcast at some stage. We'll see what we can do. Anyway, getting back to the Android users, AutoTune has released Auto Key for you Android users. So now you can get the auto key detection software we spoke about on the podcast a few months, maybe. No, not a few months, only a couple months ago. It was a few podcasts ago now when it was released on iOS. Now it is available for the Android. What is it, you ask? If you missed that podcast, shame on you. But what it is actually, it's essentially it's actually really good, really, really good. Don't understate how good this free piece of application is, because it's awesome. You can detect the musical key of any tune, whether in the studio or on the go, instantly. Share and sync the musical key with your auto-tune session running on your computer DAW. You don't have to do that, but it's good if you're a singer. And for example, let's say you have like a vocoder, or not even a vocoder, you have like a hardware auto-tune and you want to know what the key of the track is and you want to sing over that track. You can then dial it in because it will give you the exact key. Or even if you're not using auto-tune, it doesn't matter. You can sing. If you can actually sing, you're someone that uses a vocal to actually sing, and you want to know the key of a track, you want to know the key of a song, it's perfect. So good for that. Not only that, if you're a DJ and you want to mix two tracks together, and let's say you don't have auto key detection in your software, or you're using old school CDJs that don't have that, this will do it for you, so you can mix your songs with perfect harmony and key mix blending. It is a dream. It's free. Just check it out. Very good, and it's available now for you Android users. All right, now for our big piece of news. Wow, look at this picture too. This picture of the Spotify CEO looking evil as. They chose the most evilest picture they could possibly find, and rightly so, because Daniel X, he's a controversial figure. What the hell is going on at Spotify? Can I say hell? Yeah, I can say hell. We could even drop the F-bomb if we wanted to. I'm not going to do it though, because I like being on YouTube, basically. Let's put it that way. This is a hybrid though. This podcast is a YouTube podcast hybrid. It is available as a podcast as well. Links in the description below for everything you need to know, including supporting this podcast. Thank you so much for staying with me to this point. In fact, if you skipped everything to get to this point, that's okay. I was rambling. Anyway, what is this news? What is this controversial news about? Well, listen. Daniel Ek's no stranger to this podcast. We've spoken about him before. He's a controversial figure because he's a multi-billionaire and he makes all his money off you, the musician. And no joke, he does. His application is, I think it's the #1 music streaming application in the world. Hence, he's a billionaire. And the things he does are odd. It doesn't relate to music. And I want to know what your opinions are. I'm going to give you my opinions. And look, maybe I'm completely wrong here. I have music on Spotify. So, I do have my music there. So if I'm, want to be real about this, I'm not sure where I stand on this yet, but I'd love to hear your comments. Put them in the comment section below how you feel about this. So let's get stuck into it. So artists are now boycotting Spotify as the CEO invests $100 million into AI defense tech. And quotation mark, it's a complete contradiction of our music philosophy. So this is coming from one artist is saying this, of course. Artists are taking to social media to call on their fans to unsubscribe from streaming services. It's pretty big news. So artists and users have directed sharp criticism at Spotify CEO Daniel Ek's decision to invest $100 million in an AI defense tech startup, describing the move as unethical and a complete contradiction of music philosophy. So on the 9th of November, Ek, I hope that I'm pronouncing that, oh, who cares, announced on Twitter his funding of Helsing, a Berlin-based startup which described itself as a new type of security and artificial intelligence company. According to Financial Times, the firm has plans to sell its platform direct to the militaries of France, Britain, and Germany. And here's the tweet here coming from Daniel Ek. So today I'm proud to announce the Prime Materia is investing 100 million into Helsing, that's Euro by the way, AI, and that I'm joining the board. So he's probably going to be one of the main investors in the board of directors for this artificial intelligence defense company. And Primer Materia was founded to partner with teams like Helsing, ambitious, ethical, and driven by a mission to help build a thriving society. So either way you look at it, right, as we move further and further into the future, and, you know, there are things floating around on the interwebs which you can find that artificial intelligence could be a threat to humanity. In fact, if you look up Elon Musk and artificial intelligence, you will find quite a few things where Elon Musk says that actually it's inevitable that AI will be a threat. Like he's like, I'm an optimistic guy, but artificial intelligence is actually going to be a threat for humanity. It's quite scary and quite hard to confront, but this is a real reality, a real world that we live in right now. I can't believe we're getting into this on the Emlyn and Mix podcast. We try and keep it a bit more lighthearted on the Emlyn and Mix podcast, but I just wanted to delve a little bit more into the subject about Daniel Ek's decision, the CEO of Spotify, and how that relates to music, because we are bringing it back to music. You guys are musicians. You guys are music producers. How does this all relate? How does this all work? And I just want to give you my opinion, I guess, on this whole thing. Now, let me do that right now. So, Daniel Ek, in my opinion, I disassociate him with music in general. That guy, in my opinion, he's a CEO, he's a billionaire. He's totally disconnected from anything a musician does, right? So he owns Spotify. He created Spotify. I don't know if he's a co-founder or he actually developed the code for Spotify, because in general, Spotify is essentially, it's just a player, right? It's a music player, and it has features like you can create playlists and you can share, and it connects with Facebook and friends and whatever. And it's sort of like this social music platform is what Spotify is. And I guess that's why it gained popularity, and a lot of artists went on there, and you can get lots of plays and whatnot, okay? And it doesn't pay very well. It pays terribly to musicians. So you got that controversial fact there. But Daniel Ek, whatever the hell his name is to me, he's a separate entity. He's not a musician. He's not one of us, if that makes sense. And I feel that him as a billionaire investing in things, that's his choice, right? And I also understand that AI is going to be a problem in the future, and investing in artificial intelligence may be a smart move. Who cares what that guy does? This is my opinion. Who cares what Daniel Ek does? I don't like that person. I don't know why I get these feelings about, and it's not that I hate every billionaire. Like I look up to someone like Elon Musk. I think Elon Musk is amazing. Even I look up to someone like Richard Branson, and sure, from time to time, they may have done things that would not look good in the professional world, and perhaps their, public relations or something, or they did something that is going to upset one group. No matter what they do, there's such big players in the world, they're going to do things that are going to upset different people. But there are other certain billionaires which I just get a bad feeling for. For example, Mark Zuckerberg. That guy, to me, there's something that just is not right about him. And anyway, you can look at all that sort of stuff. I'm not going to go and delve into that. And then Daniel Ek's another one of those. I just feel like that person, as a separate entity, sure, he owns Spotify. And I agree with the musicians where he should do something more for musicians, but he's not going to do it. This is the matter. This is the truth. He's been a controversial figure in the music world for quite some time. He's not going to change his ways. So this is hard to sort of make an opinion, but I kind of agree with the musicians here on boycotting. I don't have a problem with people boycotting Spotify. And I like the idea of maybe some other platforms arising where musicians can go. And I guess the one thing I want to see, and I don't really care about what Daniel Ek's moves as a billionaire are. I don't really care. Like, I just feel like if you don't like what Spotify is and the CEO does, then just boycott. I'd agree with boycotting, right? I've got music on Spotify, and I'm looking for other platforms and other ways which I want to move my stuff around as well. So I don't really agree with the ethos of Spotify, and I've felt that way for a while. And at the same time, I don't care what that CEO does, if that makes sense. And also, I do feel that AI will be a problem in the future. I'm just giving you my peace of mind, okay? You guys can share your comments in the section below. I'd love to know what you think of Spotify's moves here. I've rambled on enough. I don't even know where I was going with that. But yeah, I do agree with these musicians that want to boycott and maybe find other ways to get their music out. We need more of as musicians and music producers, we do need a central platform that is about the musicians. And there probably are some that exist right now. And I know for a fact that Jay-Z has some kind of music player. I think it's a higher quality thing. And there are other options to look for, and that could definitely see boycott going down from this point. Spotify being boycotted and perhaps going down. But it's just the problem with Spotify is it's so widely known, it's so hugely known, it's so much in power that it may be very difficult to transition across. Like a lot of people, it's the same with like something like Facebook, for example. I don't like Facebook, but I still use it because I have to use it for my business and for letting people know about things. And I wish that Facebook would also go away. It's like Spotify. And there are incredible, very good platforms, other platforms which you can use, which are very good. Unfortunately, Facebook owns a couple of those as well, but yeah, look, it's about finding what is ethical for you. What do you stand for? What makes you feel better about yourself? And then I agree with whatever that is for you. But as a musician, I think it is important that you get the remuneration. Oh my God, I'm tearing up. You get the remuneration that you deserve. And the artist is so important. The artist definitely needs to be known as an important figure in society, a very important figure in society. You are worth way more than someone like Daniel Ek. Even though he's got billions and billions of dollars, you as an artist you create new worlds, you create new things that someone like Daniel Ek couldn't do. All he can do is throw massive amounts of money into things, and they may not even do well, but he can throw them into things, invest in things which he feels are important to him. But that doesn't mean that artists should die. The artist is a very valuable part of society. All right, I've totally rambled on there, but that is my opinion. I had to get that out here. Let's keep reading a little bit more. And we don't normally on this podcast, we are getting to the end of 2021. We don't normally go into this sort of stuff on the podcast. So I feel it's important to talk about. So if you're unhappy with Spotify, by all means, do what you need to do that's ethical for you. So let me just read a little bit more of this article. We're going to move on to the next thing, which is actually very exciting indeed. So the deal has miffed users and artists alike, including electronic music producer Darren Sangita, who called for a boycott to the streaming platform. Music is being used as a weapon, Sangita told Resident Advisor. We believe in music as a powerful tool for peace. Otherwise, it's a complete contradiction of our music philosophy. So boycott Spotify now. Cancel your subscription today. Artists and music lovers must not support the military. #AI industry. Register your anger at the #Spotify involvement. Lots of hashtags in sponsorship of Arms Corporation. This is so vile. Music is not war, just wrong on every level. So look, either way you look at it, I kind of understand. I don't understand why he's saying war, because artificial intelligence defense, I know he's selling it to the military, but I think this is more to do with AI rather than war between countries, if that makes sense. I could be completely wrong. Anyway, that is the article. It is controversial, and it always is. When Daniel Ek hits the news here, the Spotify CEO, looking very evil there if you're watching on the YouTubes, that is something to talk about. If you want to leave a comment in the comment section below on this video, please do. I would like to know your thoughts on that. All right, let's get back to some lighter hearted stuff that we do on Emlyn Mix, back to the music technology, and that's what we're all about here. So this comes to us from Cherry Audio, and this is a really exciting piece of software. A vintage synthesis to the 4th power. It is Quadra from Cherry Audio. Now, interestingly enough, we had another software synthesizer. I think it was a synthesizer called Quadra from UVI. I don't know. We have to have a look into that. So you had 2 products called Quadra come out in the last week, which is very odd. But anyway, Cherry Audio's Quadra, different kettle of fish. This is a very excellent instrument indeed. Let me read a little bit back here for you. So the Cherry Audio Quadra is a super accurate and immensely improved emulation of the ARP Quadra synthesizer, originally released in 1978. A rare and coveted unicorn instrument in the synthesizer world, reproduced for the first time as a virtual instrument. Quadra-matic. Cherry Audio's Quadra introduces improvements throughout every section, bringing out the full potential of the original ARP design. Each instrument section can now be laid anywhere across the keyboard, and we've increased transposition ranges for most sections. So you're essentially getting this amazing emulation with basically of the ARP Quadra with basically more features. So the paraphonic polysynthesizer section has been beefed up with an additional octave, optional oscillator drift, velocity control, new modulation capabilities including pulse width modulation, and additional waveforms. The lead synthesizer section has been enhanced with a more powerful arpeggiator, additional waveform, adjustable note priority, and numerous other small improvements, and they've tuned the Quadra rudimentary LFO into a full-featured multi-waveform tempo syncable LFO. We've added a deeply flexible blender section that allows pitch bend wheel data to independently bend pitches and modulate filter cutoff for each instrument section. And we scroll down here, highly effective. They modeled the ARP Quadra's 14-stage phaser and added additional effects, chorus, flanger, echo, and reverb, obviously bringing it to the modern time, that can also be turned on and off independently for each instrument section. So imagine strings bathed in reverb, polysynth slowly phasing and flanging, and a lead synth with a slapback delay. It's all layered together to create a beautiful swirling pad. Sound design possibilities are, of course, endless. And then 4 sides live. So Quadra includes a multiple out version for maximum flexibility. Standard Quadra instances mixes the 4 sections to a summed output. This is really cool. Quadra multi-out includes 5 sets of outputs, a standard stereo mix plus dry independent outputs for each section as found on the original hardware. Wow, I didn't even know the original hardware had that. That's very cool indeed. We've got some artists here talking about the testimonials of what they feel. Let's have a look here. We'll read one of them for you. Julia Catherine. Hang on a sec. Quadra includes over... Sorry, these are the presets made by these different producers here. You got Catherine Fountain, Dave Polish, Brendan Draper, Huston Singularity. I'm probably saying that wrong. And James Tetris. No, it's Terrace. Led by veteran sound designer James Terrace, we enlisted the help of Julie Catherine, Huston, Singletary. Oh, I'm saying these names were all messed up. I'm sorry, I'm butchering your names. I'm so sorry. They basically, all these people created over 450 stunning Quadra presets. Each sound designer brings their own style and character to the process, and the results are awe-inspiring. So it's good. They got a very eclectic bunch of music producers there that created the presets. Let's have a quick Let's have a quick listen and the sound of Quadra here. Let's have a listen to Quadra by Cherry Audio. There you have it, guys. That's Cherry Audio's Quadra. We're going to have an in-depth video. I'm going to do a video just on the Quadra for YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the Emlyn in the Mix YouTube channel if you haven't already. If you're watching on the YouTubes there, you probably see me doing a little bit of this action here. You won't know what that is on the podcast, but essentially dad duties are coming up for me on Emlyn in the Mix. So we are going to have to wrap up the podcast, but that is Quadra from Cherry Audio. All of those sounds you heard in the demo there, of course, coming from Quadra, that whole sequence from Quadra. So if you like that sound, you like that analog emulation, you're going to absolutely absolutely love Quadra. And as I say, we're going to do a full featured video on the Quadra synthesizer from Cherry Audio on the YouTube. Hashtag subscribe to Emlyn in the Mix. That's going to do it for the podcast today. Thank you so much for joining me. Make sure, if you're enjoying this podcast, to support it. Link is in the description below if you enjoyed this podcast. Also, what are your thoughts on the Spotify CEO investing in AI defense technology, AI startup defense technology? What are your thoughts on that? And what are your thoughts on the podcast? And if you want to talk about any of that DJ software, what do you think about Nexus? Hope you enjoyed this podcast, guys, as we roll along to the end of 2021, getting into holiday season. Only a few more podcasts left for the rest of this year. If you want to reach out to me, maybe a music software dev or a hardware music dev, you want to reach out to me, you can simply do that. Emlyn in the mix at gmail.com. And also leave some feedback on the podcast. 3 stars, 1 star, 5 stars, whatever you felt the podcast deserves. I read all of the comments. I love your feedback. Love hearing from you guys. Thank you so much. Love doing this podcast for you guys every week, by the way. All right. We'll be back next week. Thanks so much for joining me. Peace out. Boom.